reinforcement, and everyone coming out tonight to show support for a living legend.
I'm very glad to be here. I left Los Angeles a week ago, went to Las Vegas, spent a few days, and then came up through Denver to get here. Boy, I'll tell you, I'm on oxygen. I have idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and it is absolutely just a killer disease. They don't know where it comes from, and there's no known cure on the face of the earth for it. It's the hardening of the lungs, and it is just murder to breathe with it. When I went over that pass between Aspen and Denver, I thought I was going to die. I think you're up about 8,000 feet there. I was in the back of the coach, laying down with my little puppy traveling, and I thought, boy, I hope the weather gets better on the way to Pennsylvania, and it did. When I got to Kansas and Missouri, it got where I could breathe a lot better. And I don't think your altitude, who knows how high your altitude is here? 1,400. We'll find a number.
We'll be up pretty high after bed.
Anyway, it's much easier for me to breathe at this altitude. They could give me a lung transplant. I've already had a liver transplant. After all the years that I was performing, my liver went bad on me. From the blood that I received during the 60s and the 70s from performing, it was full of hepatitis C. And they never knew that then. They never knew what hepatitis C was in the 60s and 70s. And when they finally found out, well, I was just full of it. Anyway, it killed my liver. And I don't know whether you want me to relate this to you or not, but I'll tell you. When I was in the hospital, I was with a group called Life Link, and I had to sign an agreement with them that I could get a liver when my number came up, but if anybody else needed one at that time that was compatible, and I was critical like they were, but they were on the list first, that they got it. So just when I was about ready to get my liver, about a week out, one came in, and this young man that had rejected, it was time for him to get one, so he rejected, and I had to give that liver to him when I was actually on my deathbed there. This was in Tampa. So I stayed there for a couple more days, and I told my wife, I said, God, I don't want to die in this hospital. Let's go home so I can die there. So we left there the next day, and we were going across the bridge, and my phone rang. And it was my nurse, Debbie, Dr. Alcina's nurse, who was going to do the transplant on me. She said, Evel, where are you? I said, I'm on the bridge going to Clearwater. I'm going home. I signed myself out of the hospital. So she said, God Almighty, you get back here as quick as you can. There's a boy that's been killed in Miami. His liver's exactly the right kind for you, the blood and everything. So you get back here as soon as you can. So we made a U-turn at the end of the bridge and went back. Boy, I only had hours to go. She said, your doctor's on the way up here on a jet with it, on an airplane. So I'll never forget, I was in the operating room, and they were shaving me and getting me ready, and the doctor looked at me. He was a wonderful doctor, my anesthesiologist. And I said, where are you going to put my liver when you take it out? He said, right in that bucket right there. I said, well, Christ. I said, what if this other liver doesn't work? He said, boy, you got a few hours to live, and you're wondering if this other liver is going to work? He looked at me and he winked, and I never forget the laugh. He said, you're the daredevil, aren't you? Anyway, it was a real harrowing experience. Thank God I got through it. That was 6 years ago. The quality of life of a transplant is horrible. I don't know how many of you have heard of a drug called interferon. Boy, when you take it, it just makes you so sick. I mean, deathly sick. Like you've got the worst kind of flu you ever had. And it lasts all week. And then maybe 2 days out of the week you have a good 2 days. And then I used to take it on a Monday and hope that I could play golf on Saturday or Sunday, until it got me again on Sunday night when I had to take the interferon. And they say that this lung transplant will be just as bad or worse if I have the lung transplant. So because of the quality of life that I'm going to have to endure, and the time, only 55% of lung transplant recipients now, because of the medication we have now, live for over a year. So I think I'd rather try and live for 3 or 4 years. A good quality of life. To be able to do things that I love to do. This will be about my last show. I've got another one in Oklahoma, and then one in Washington State at a big Indian casino, and then and a racetrack, and then I'll go home to Montana for Evel Knievel days, which is the end of July. But I think this will probably be about it. I hope that this will become an annual event for you people. I hope it'll be one that you'll all be proud of, and I'm glad that I'm here at your very first one. I'll get all my 11 grandkids to say, my grandpa started that. Anyway, how about helping me out? There's some things I haven't talked about that I know you'd like to hear about, that besides the horrible sickness I'm going through now, which I'm trying to handle in a good way, which all you will when you get sick. Believe me, God makes us so that we can accept this kind of a thing. I'll never forget when my grandpa died. My grandfather and grandmother raised me, and I went over to see him at the hospital, and he just said, Bobby, I want to be left alone. I'm happy and comfortable, and I just want to be left alone. I don't want a lot of people come to see me. He wasn't talking to me about me. He was talking about our neighbors and stuff. And my grandmother lived to be 103. But I'll never forget when she was 95, she says, Bobby, you listen to me. She said, you don't ever want to live to be this old. She said, I do enjoy watching the TV and seeing the news and things, but the world's going to go on without me. And she said, I can't see anymore very good at all, and I can't take care of myself. And she said, you just don't want to live to be this old. But good Lord, those of us who don't think about suicide, what the hell are you going to do about it? If you live to be 103, you live to be 103. Her doctor thought she might live to be 110, for crying out loud. I got a funny story to tell you. I had a lot of things when I was a young man. I made probably, and I'm not bragging, with my toy sales and everything, the television specials and the motion pictures and everything that went along with it, I probably made $25 million. And I'm glad to say I spent 26. I did. I came into this world with nothing. I'm going out with nothing. I do have a trust set up for my family, my kids. My ex-wife, Linda, I was married to her for 38 years, and Crystal, who I've been with now for 14. And I think getting along with women is the toughest part of life. I think they come from a different planet. Even the Bible says that. It says God created man perfect in His image. It doesn't say a goddamn thing about women. They're different. They're just different. Anybody who tries to figure them out is just crazy. Anyway, I have had a wonderful relationship and marriage, and I have been pretty promiscuous in my life, which I know has preceded me with a lot of publicity. And I'll tell you now, since I've gotten older, I'm not really proud of that. My first wife went through my being with, now believe me, I'm not bragging, I'm telling you the truth, 2 women a week probably when I was on the road. You add that up, 2 women a week times 52 for 20 some years, comes to 3,000 or 4,000 women. That's something I'm not real proud of. I'll tell you why. When you love somebody, truly love them, to take away from the loving them by being with somebody else, you really give away. You give away that love and feeling and romance that you could have saved for her or him, in case of a woman. So, by spreading yourself like horse manure in a field with other women is not really the best thing to do, because when you really realize it, if you've been married for a long time and you have a wife that you really care about, to do something like that, when you're older, you regret it. I'm talking to you young men that are in here tonight, and women. When you're older, you'll regret it. I don't know if it's I don't know where the real truthful message is in life about when you get older, you become smarter, or when you get older, you realize the true things in life and you lose some of your nerve. I don't think that's the truth, because until I just had a back fusion a year ago, got 3 plates and 6 screws put in my back, which is from old injuries. I broke my back 7 times. Until you become of age, which I am now, which I think I did when I was 59 or 60, I changed my thinking. Until you reach that age, you don't really become a total human being. A young person's mind is no more developed than their body is. Young people think they know all the answers, and there isn't one of them that will grow up that will not say, I didn't realize how much my mother and dad loved me, and I didn't realize how smart my mother and dad were. They will all think that, because that's just the way life is. I know my son Robbie, he drinks a lot, he jumps, he's an incredible motorcycle rider. I quit when I was 37 or 38. Here's Robbie, 44, drinking beer with 2 fists and riding that motorcycle and jumping further than I ever did. And I think to myself, I always said that when life produces better human beings through evolution, through education, belief in God, teaching, athleticism, our children become better. We all know that. That's why records are broken. But I just wish the young people of this country would realize that, I don't know how they're ever going to do it. Nobody's going to tell them, well, tomorrow when you wake up you'll be a lot smarter. I mean, nobody's going to plant that in their minds. But believe me, you young people that are here tonight, you'll think different 20 or 30 or 40 years from now. You'll just think different. And listen to your father and your mother, and listen to your older friends. Take the time to listen, because believe me, if I knew now Or if I knew then what I know now. If I knew then what I know now, I probably wouldn't be the president of the world, of the United States. I'd be the king of the world. I'd know so much. I'd know that much. To get back to the airplane story, when I bought my first jet, I had all these airplanes. I bought so many of them in yachts. Bought a ship, bought a Fed ship, cost me $7 million. Bought yachts, cost me $1 million. I had Fort Lauderdale, the docks, Pier 66 in Bahia Mar. Everything you saw there said Evel I-1, Butte, Montana. That's what was on all my vessels. I had 13 of those, I think. I bought a home there with 100 foot of docking space, or 100 yards of docking space, 300 feet. And the airplanes I had, I'd buy them, go tired of flying them, put them in a hangar and offer them for sale around the country. But I bought this jet, and I took some friends of mine to New York for the fights, Madison Square Garden. We turned around, we were coming home, and my dad was there with me. And he said, you know, for all the money you've spent on airplanes, you could have bought a whole bunch of trucks and trailers and had a whole freight train of stuff going down the road. I said, yeah. He says, who the hell are you trying to impress at 38,000 feet in this jet? So I said to my guy that was with me, I snuck up in front and I said, asked the pilot to get a hold of Gates Learjet in Denver, ask him where they got a jet for sale. Now we were flying from New York back to Butte. We were just going through Chicago, so it goes like this to me. He says, Danville, Illinois, they got a jet Rexall wants to sell in Danville, Illinois. McCullum Aviation. So I said, okay, go down. So down we go. So now, on this one particular jet we were flying in, I had Evel Knievel painted on the wingtip tanks, you know, the wings that got these tanks sticking out of them. Got me on the back on my motorcycle jumping. There was a state senator in Montana that said they shouldn't have the meadowlark there anymore. They should have Evel Knievel as the rare bird, not the Montana state bird, just the Montana state rare bird. So I thought that's a pretty nice compliment. So I put that on the tail of all my airplanes. So anyway, when we landed at Danville, we went to this aviation company owned by a guy named Whatcha McCullum. He was a Cherokee Indian. His dad named him Whatcha because his last name was McCullum. I hired him later to fly me around the country, and he got killed in a Hans jet taken off of an airport in Wyoming, overloaded by his co-pilot. He rotated and went up and came down the end of the airport and eventually got killed, but he's a wonderful pilot. They say he had more private pilot miles than any pilot in the world. Anyway, I went to him and I negotiated the deal with him. I think I ended up giving him $980,000 for the plane. I said, I'll buy it on one condition. This is before I finalized the deal. I said, I want you to paint Evel Knievel on the wingtip tanks, and I want you to paint Montana State Rare Bird, put my picture, ride the motorcycle on the back of it. So he did. So my dad and everybody had gone downtown to eat dinner with the pilots while this was going on. Here come this sign painter out there. He painted that airplane. So about 8 hours later, we took off. So my dad looked at the airplane, thought it was nice, so we're flying along about 38,000 or 40,000 feet. I said, Dad, you asked me who I was trying to impress in this jet. I said, look out the window there. So here's this other jet flying alongside of us, right next to us. I said, look at that name on the wingtip tanks there. It's my name. I said, I'm trying to impress me. Just me. I said, I'm having fun and doing these kinds of things, and I had them both parked at the airport in the little town of Butte, Montana. Just things like that I spent my money on, and I did it during that Nixon crash on the fuel. Remember when that was? He just taxed all the fuel so high nobody could afford to buy any, and the trucks and trailers were having a real problem in the big companies, and here I was stuck with all those yachts and that ship and those airplanes during that energy crisis. Christ, I couldn't give stuff away because people didn't know how they were going to pay for it. One of my big ships was so big in Fort Lauderdale, this marine contractor came in there and dredged out my channel to my home deeper so I could get the big yacht in there, ship in there, and all the neighbors' homes sunk in the canal. Oh, I had lawsuits, everybody. So I made a deal with them. I gave them all a damn boat to use for the summer, a yacht to use for the summer, a Chris Craft or a Robalo or a Cigarette or a Magnum. I had 14 or 15 boats out there, all my name on them. Boy, I'll tell you, the things I did, people just wouldn't think about doing. And now that I get to thinking about it, I had to be so off base with the rest of the world. I hate to use the word crazy, but I'll tell you, I really wasn't thinking right. Or else the rest of you were all thinking wrong. Because I just absolutely did things. I thought I was bulletproof. And the jumps I made with no guards on, the elbow guards or leg guards. I mean, if I'd have just, when I jumped Caesar's Palace, for instance, and if I'd have just wore a back undergarment with about that much padding, or I just never thought I'd fall off. And when I'd fall off, I never thought I'd fall off again. I just got up after I got out of the hospital. Just keep it going. I got to admit, that's just not, if a person wants to live, that's just not the way to live. It's just not, absolutely not. And I don't know what I was thinking about. And I know when I was a kid and didn't have any money, they all called me crazy as a loon. Then when I got money and I became well known, they all called me eccentric. That's an eccentric Knievel. But it's funny, the way I did go through things and the things that happened to me. I'm still alive. I spent 3.5 years in hospitals. I've been operated on where they opened me up, put a steel plate in me or took one out 16 times. What they call an open reduction operation, where they put a plate in you. And I've had the liver transplant. I've had full hip replacements, and the fusion in my back. I don't know how long. I used to smile and say I'm the toughest son of a bitch in the world, but boy, it's tough to smile and say that anymore. Because it is, now that I'm older and the pain is hurting me and the oxygen is hard to get. When you people see anybody with a tank on and that hose going to their mouth, try and help them, because believe me, they need all the help they can get. I didn't realize how tough this was. Anyway, I want to thank you for having me down to share. I would like to tell all of you, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I would like to tell all of you something, a thought, and the thoughts that I have about living successfully. There's 6 things that really count in your life. Maybe they're the only things that count. You could get along all of your life without anything but food and water if you thought this way that I do. Number 1, the most important thing in life, the most very important thing in life, is to have your health. That's the most important thing in life there is. But when you are born and you have your health, and your brain becomes material that you can think with, and you can think for yourself, you must believe in God. You must believe in a maker. You've just got to. If there are atheists in the crowd, I feel sorry for you. Somebody will, I hope, say something to you, but I want you all to know something. I do not believe in organized religion. I don't believe in it. I think that Jim Baker and Jimmy Swaggart and Oral Roberts and Peter Popoff and this Benny Hinn, I think they all ought to be put in the federal penitentiary. All of them. They are stealing money from those who cannot think for themselves, and our federal government, presidents like George Bush, are allowing it. It just absolutely sickens me. Thirdly, I think in life you must have somebody to love, and somebody that loves you. That, I think, is a very important thing of the 6 things. That you love too. You got to love them too. Fourthly, I think you got to have a job that you love to get up and go to work to. Something that you love to do. Nobody needs to kick you out of bed to do it. And I really think that that's an important part of your life, is to find something to do that you're not bored with. And if you don't have that in your life, no matter how old you are, for God's sake, find something, because that will help you enjoy life more. And incidentally, I am from a mining community. I worked a mile underneath the ground in the Kelly Shaft for the Anaconda Company for 2 years off and on. I worked every job in the mines, from the top motor all the way down to being a mining contractor underground. They were contractor copper mines and silver and gold. Many of you know about Anaconda and about Butte and the city of Anaconda and the mines, how they started. And excuse me, I can't hear you with that cell phone, please. I just absolutely know what it is to come from a mining community and to be proud of it. Fourthly, or fifthly, I think you absolutely should do the right thing by your fellow man, because it is right. You don't need any contract. You don't need any laws to tell you what to do. You need a handshake and just do it. Now, if a neighbor is good to you, be good to him. On the other hand, if he does things that are wrong, like 9/11 for instance, I'd go just the opposite way. You be your own judge of that. Do the right thing by your fellow man because it's right. So you have health, belief in God, someone to love, something to do, and doing the right thing by your fellow man because it's right. And the 6th thing is very important. Follow your dream, your own dream. You may fall many times in life pursuing that dream, but don't let it stop you. Now, I have done that in my lifetime. I followed my dream, and I never ever dreamt that. I put together a 2-hour show with other men. I never dreamt that I would jump from jumping cars to jump a canyon, or try to walk out in the middle of a stadium in London, England, clear across the ocean, and draw 108,000 people to see me perform. Sometimes I was spellbound about what happened. But if you have a dream, you follow it, because you'll fall like I did. But follow your dream, and I hope more than anything that your dreams come through for you people from this little hard-working community that has produced so many good people. Follow your dream like I did. I'm sure it'll come true for you. Anyway, that's all I have to say for tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Come on, let's get it done.